Hey friends, it's Mrs. Walker. For our lesson today, we're going to talk about how we can count objects by putting them in rows and columns, and how we can put them in arrays to be able to count them to make it easier for us to count. So our learning goal for today says I can compose arrays from rows and columns and count to find the total using objects. So the materials that you'll need for this lesson are your dry erase board and about 20 counters. So make sure you grab those before you get started. All right, friends, so how many counters are in each group? Yeah, 3 counters. How many groups? 2 groups. How many counters altogether? 6 counters. How did you know? You counted, right? Or you did 3 plus 3 equals 6. How can we arrange these groups of 3 into rows of 3? Now, friends, in case you're not sure, rows are the ones that go side to side or left to right. Think about like the rows in a movie theater when you go see a movie, or like the rows in a car. There's a front row and then a back row, and sometimes a third row. So how can we arrange these groups of 3 into rows of 3? Well, to put them in rows, we can place them in straight horizontal lines, or left to right. Try to organize the counter into 2 equal rows. So pause the video. You want to grab out 6 counters and try and put them in 2 equal rows. That means they have to be the same in both rows. So pause the video, do that, and then click play when you're ready for the next step. All right, friends, pause if you need more time. Okay, so here's my 2 equal rows. What did you notice about the rectangular array that we just created? Well, the number is the same in each row. It looks like a 10 frame, but there are only 3 in each row. And there's 2 groups of 3. So friends, you can also think about this as a rectangular array because it's grouped into rows and columns, and it kind of looks like a rectangle, right? So how many counters are in each row? So there's a row. How many counters? 3 counters. How many rows are there? 2 rows. You guys got this. You're doing awesome. So there are 2 equal groups of 3, because there's 3 in each group. So did the total number of counters change when I organized them into a rectangular array? From when they were in groups, and now we switched them to this array. Did the number of counters change? No, they sure didn't. So the way that you organize them doesn't change the way that the total that there are. You can organize them in different ways. Oh, so here, let's move them around. Okay, so what if we want to arrange them into 2 columns of 3? Columns are groups that are arranged vertically or up and down. So we could show the counters in 2 columns of 3. All right, so go ahead and pause the video, show that with your counters, and then click play when you're ready for the next step. All right, pause if you need more time. All right, so here's my 2 columns of 3. How many columns do you see? Remember, up and down is a column. So there's 2 columns. How many counters are in each column? 3 counters. You got it. So there are 2 equal groups of 3. Awesome. So how many total counters? 6. Is there another way to group the counters other than 2 groups of 3? Yeah, there are. Can you think of any others? Here's some. One group of 6. You could put them all in one group. 6 groups of 1. 3 groups of 2. So there's several different ways that you could organize them. So organize your counters into 3 groups of 2. So pause the video, organize the counters into 3 groups of 2, and then click play when you're ready for the next step. All right. So how many rows did you make? Remember, this is a row side by side. 3 rows. How many counters are in each row? 2 counters. Let's count together to find the total. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now let's count them row by row. So we're going to count how many are in each row each time. So 1, 2, next row, 1, 2, last row, 1, 2. How many groups of 2 was that? 3 groups of 2. Okay, so let's count the columns together. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So how many counters are in each column? 3 counters. How many columns? 2 columns. So how many counters are in the array altogether? 6 counters. You could say 3 in each column of 3 plus 3 equals 6, or 2 in each row. 2 plus 2 plus 2 equals 6. So that's kind of where we're bringing our repeated addition back in. Did the number of counters change when we organized them in different ways? Nope, they sure didn't. So again, you can arrange them in different ways and still have the same total. All right, so let's take out 12 counters. How can we put these counters into equal groups? So there's my 12 counters. How do you put them into equal groups? Well, just like before, there's different ways, right? So think of a way. Or we could put them in groups of 2. We could put them in groups of 3. We can put them in groups of 4. You can even put them in groups of 6, right? So separate the counters into groups of 2. So pause the video, take your 12 counters and put them in groups of 2, and then click play when you're ready for the next step. All right, pause if you need more time. All right, so how many groups of 2 counters did you make? So here's how I organize them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So how many groups of 2 counters did we make? 6 groups, right? So how can we arrange the 6 groups of 2 counters in a rectangular array? But we can put them in 6 rows of 2, right? We could put them in 6 columns of 2, 2 rows of 6. So there's different ways that we could do that. So arrange the counters in 2 rows of 6. So pause the video, arrange them in 2 rows of 6, and then click play when you're ready for the next step. All right, friends. So here's how I came up with 2 rows of 6. How many rows did you make? 2 rows. How many counters are in each row? 6 counters. So there are 2 equal groups of 6 counters. All right, so great job, friends. You rocked it at being able to compose arrays from rows and columns and counting to find the total using different objects. Okay, so please head back on over to the module to see what you need to complete for your independent practice. As always, if you have any questions, please let me know. I'd be more than happy to help. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Bye, friends.